Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Unfiltered commentary. And not your truth, the real truth. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thank you for your support. Welcome back. From Fox News, Republicans block quote-unquote rotten election reform bill in Senate as Vice President Harris presides over debate. GOP uses filibuster to stop debate on Democrats' top priority. Now, my understanding is the two Democrat senators, Sinema and Manchin, voted for to have the debate, but not the final bill. This, folks, is huge. I think you have no idea how big this is and how important this is to stop this progressive Democrat bill from going through. It's a lie. It's not voter suppression. That's a lie. It's a terrible lie. Jim Crow and everything else. And in fact, in some states, there were more lenient voting rules than before COVID. They want everything mailed in, and we all know what the potential for that is. In Georgia, I've been involved in a lot of elections in upstate New York. I used to be a local elected official, city councilman in the early 2000s. And you go knocking on doors, and a third of the names are not any good. Either they don't live there, they passed away, they simply don't vote anymore. To purge names that have been there for years and years and years with no action at all, action being voting, deserves to be done. Because they want these absentees to go out with the people's names on them that don't vote or don't even live there anymore. And I can't say what they do with those ballots because YouTube will block it. But anybody with two brain cells touching can understand. It's a federal takeover of the election system. A Republican in a swing state, a Republican in a 50-50 congressional district, or even a city council race or mayor for that matter, will never win again. This is about power and control. This isn't about voters' rights. That's a lie. It's not even a fabrication. It's a lie. Let's read on. Senate Republicans Tuesday blocked sweeping legislation on election and campaign finance reforms that Democrats said is crucial to ensuring voting rights and saving democracy, but the GOP blasted it as a partisan power grab. Saving democracy, first of all, we live in a republic, for starters. And even still, when was it in danger? Because of voting. How many people have you heard of that wanted to vote that were refused to? Stop the video and think about it. None. For the People Act, I do have to say, though, Democrats come up with the greatest names. For the People Act needed 60 votes to clear a procedural vote in the Senate Tuesday, where Republicans filibustered and killed the legislation from advancing to debate. No Republicans joined with the 50 Democrats in the motion to proceed. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who I have very little respect for anymore, said Republicans won't stand for Democrats attempt to impose new voting standards on states that would rig elections in their favor. He called the substance of the near 900-page bill rotten to its core. Not only is it rotten to its core, it's unconstitutional. The Constitution clearly states the states have a right to run their elections as they see fit within federal law. This just takes over that. Republicans took issue with imposing federal standards on state elections they said would weaken state ID requirement laws. Ding, 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 ding. They also opposed starting a new public financing system for congressional elections and politicizing the Federal Election Commission that enforces campaign finance laws. You want taxpayer-funded money? Good Lord. Even GOP moderate Elisa Murkowski of Alaska said she wouldn't support the bipartisan federal takeover of the election system. In a floor speech, she said she backs elements of the bill and will co-sponsor the separate John Lewis Voting Rights Act, but can't back Democrats' one-size-fits-all reforms. I don't know what the John Lewis Voting Right Act is. I'm sure that sucks too, just not as bad. Democrats with the House on their side frame the legislation as an urgent priority to save democracy in the face of GOP efforts in state legislatures around the country to pass voter suppression laws in the wake of former President Trump's 2020 election laws and unsubstantiated claims of widespread voter fraud. Democracy is in peril in America, said President Biden's White House said in a statement supporting the bill. The right to vote is sacred in our country and under assault, and with intensity and aggressiveness we have not seen in a long time. Where? You got to prove who you are to vote. When the hell did that change? What they want is they want the same rules that they stretched, I think, unlawfully in some states because of the COVID. COVID. Everything's COVID. We're doing this. We know it's unlawful. Oh, we don't have the right because of COVID. We're doing this because of COVID. We're doing that because of COVID. They want to have it stay forever. Voting rights have been such a concern for the White House that Vice President Kamala Harris presided over the debate in the Senate floor Tuesday evening and announced a failed 50-50 vote. Afterwards, she said the White House is committed to ensuring access to the polls. The fight is not over. Who doesn't have access to the polls? Who doesn't have access to the polls? And there's some quotes here from Chuck Schumer. I won't even aggravate myself in talking about that. Oh, gosh. The voting rights legislation, if enacted, would take aim at big dollar donors, and it goes through. Would match a new 6-to-1 public financing system, which is ridiculous. This is the one that really kills me. And the legislation would set basic standards for states to run elections, such as mandating at least 15 days of early voting. I'm not a fan of early voting, period. Now, the presidential or the elections are held on the first Thursday after the first Monday. Okay, I go along with Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday being election day. 15 days? Setting up automatic voter registration and permitting the use of student IDs or sworn written statements in states that have voter identification requirements. Sworn written statements from who? And those student IDs, by the way, when I ran for city council the last 2 times, I was a Democrat. In the first 8 years I was a council member, left in 2007, decided to come back years later as a Republican. A third of the people who voted in my council district that I live in are from New York City, and we're way upstate New York. I mean, we're way upstate, Binghamton. It's below Syracuse. A third of the voters are from New York. They all go to SUNY Binghamton. And they're not even going to be around for the end of the term. That's the problem. You shouldn't use student IDs. They have their own ID if they're from that area. If they're not, then vote absentee. In this case, they live in New York City. Then either go back down there to vote or vote absentee in New York. It's a scam. Allow 50 Democrats are united in moving the bill. Debate the bill. Manchin striking a last-minute deal with Schumer. Democrats were deeply invited what to do next. The top Democratic political advisor criticized his own party for wasting time on S1 legislation that won't pass. Dimitri Melhorn, a key confidant to Democratic funder Reid Hoffman, argued the legislation push was setting the party up for failure and dragging me and my country off a cliff, he told Politico. Progressives are demanding that Senate Democrats get rid of the legislative filibuster so they can pass the sweeping elections reforms. D.C. statehood bill, which would give them control of the Senate forever, almost. Gun control and the police reform bills without any GOP support. But Manchin in Arizona, Senator Kristen Sinema have doubled down their opposition to limit the filibuster, meaning any pathway forward on voting reforms would need GOP support. This, folks, is what James Madison referred to as the tyranny of the majority. And here's the thing. They don't even have the majority in the Senate. It's 50-50. It's 50-50. I'm telling you, 50% of the so-called representatives of the people of the United States want to trample all over the rights of the other 50%. It's that simple. Period. I'm not even going to mince words here. This is a power grab. Why? The Democrats know they are doomed. They are doomed for maybe a generation. They have to get this in before the end of next year, so they can set up, I consider it bogus rules for elections and voting, so they can win the midterms. They know they're doomed. They want to stack the deck again. I think Tim Pool described it as, and the Republicans are sitting there going, oh, please don't do that, please. And they got no balls. As my Puerto Rican friend says, they don't have any huevos. It's like you're playing Monopoly, Tim Pool said once, and you're watching this one guy keep taking money out of the bank for nothing, and the rest of the players will say are Republicans, and the one taking the money out of the bank illegally is a Democrat. And they're going, you can't do that. Yeah, so what? And they keep doing it. They win every single time, and they go, oh, maybe we'll win next time. The Republicans need to grow a set. They have to fight these people every step of the way, not just this. This is about the future of our country for the next half century, if not century. And the end of our republic as we know it, that has stood the test of time. This, folks, is about power and control. The Republicans know they are doomed. Their allies in the media, cable news, social media, pulled out all the stops to beat Trump. President Trump, be more respectful, in the last election. And if you count the numbers from the electoral standpoint, they only won by 43,000 votes. They know they're doomed. And not only that, when Trump lost, they lost a crap load of seats in the House. They only have a 5-seat majority. They know they are doomed. The founders were brilliant in their setup of the government, where one house, the Senate, checks the other house, the House. The president checks either one of them. And at least in theory, the last branch, the Supreme Court, checks the other two. But lately, that hasn't really shown out to be a big priority. They've also lost their backbone, too. The only ones that are worth a damn are Alito and Clarence Thomas on the Supreme Court. But I digress. This is about power and control. Frankly, if this bill passed and it got to the Supreme Court, everybody that has two brain cells touching knows this is unconstitutional. Would the Supreme Court overturn it? I'm not so confident anymore. I was 5 years ago. Not so much anymore. In fact, 10 or 15 years ago, this bill would have been thrown out by the Supreme Court with a 9-0 vote against. We'll see. McConnell, I lost a lot of faith in him. I lay out the old school Republicans. They're just as bad as the old school Democrats. They're in the same bed. Money, money, money. The Democrats want a lot of illegals coming in, fill up the country for votes. And the Republicans, the old neocons and that do this for money rather than for the sake of their country, want cheap labor for the corporations. So they're basically they're on the same side of the street. That's why Trump was such a unbelievable irritant to them. It was screwing up all their plans. Well, too bad. And now, Republicans, this is the last time you can grow a spine. D.C. statehood, the changing of the national election rules, which have held in place for years, and they work great. Believe me, in upstate New York, there's no one that's being disenfranchised ever. It's a power grab. Finally grow a set. The Republic in the future of our country, in graveyards filled with veterans that have fought to protect the freedoms in this country, are at stake. Republicans and moderate Democrats, the few that are left, do not let us down. Do not let down our children, our grandchildren, in the future of this republic. This is a turning point. It only comes along once in a century. Do not lose your nerve. And until next time, folks, goodbye and good luck.